Ready to get in here. Okie doke. Welcome to Oya Underground. It's been a couple months because last month we took a collective break. We personally needed a break and it felt like the community needed a break too. So that's what we went with. For those of you that are new here, welcome. My name is Sarah Loveland. I'm an ICU nurse. I'm in grad school for acute care nurse practitioner. It's also led by Brooke Ann, who's going to be on the in and out taking care of her son, and then Sarah Jones as well. So we love to have you here. This is a special one because normally we keep this to our teams or to people that are not signed up with the Young Living account as a perk of being in our community. But because it's Nurses Week and Mother's Day, we decided to make this an open Oily Underground because every single one of us needs to talk about how to calm down our bodies from stress and the havoc it can wreak on us. So if you have questions throughout, you can either wait if you can remember them. We'll have time at the end to do Q&A. Or if you're like me, if I don't ask it right away, I'm not going to remember. Just throw it in the chat. We will get to it, or Sarah Jones, Katie, or Brooke Ann and myself will answer it throughout while I'm speaking, okay? Again, if you're new here, the first part of this is just straight education so that, and I try my best not to go too sciencey because I know that's not for everybody, but I think it is fundamental when you're wanting to feel better and do better that you have at least a small understanding of like the intricacies of your body and what's actually happening. And then we'll talk about, well, so what can I do? So we're going to talk about stress and how to regulate and calm your nervous system. I will share quickly, just trying to think the order I should go in. I've had like a year and a half to 2 years of like some wild health issues for somebody who's young, who takes care of themselves, who does all the right things. I have been beyond tired. I have been gaining weight. I got diagnosed with PCOS. Turns out it was adrenal PCOS. And all of that has led to basically the diagnosis of stress. So me working as an ICU nurse during COVID over the past few years just threw my body into such a state of stress that it became accustomed to it, and then it made necessary changes because of that stress. So it just threw me into complete dysregulation. So what I'm going to be talking about is literally what I've walked through the past couple of years. Part of what I'm just now realizing was happening to me during that time period. And then we're going to talk about all of the tools, things that you can start tonight to start fixing that. Okay. And again, if you have any questions throughout this, then put that in the chat box or you can wait till tonight. With that, we're going to start. All right. So we've all heard of the nervous system, hopefully. If not, we're going to do a really quick intro and a reminder for a lot of people. The nervous system helps every part of your body communicate with one another, okay? It reacts to changes both inside and outside the body. It's using electrical and chemical means to send messages and receive messages. There are two parts of your nervous system. There is the sympathetic nervous system, the SNS, and there's the parasympathetic nervous system, your PNS, okay? We are all mostly familiar with the SNS because it's called the fight or flight response. Okay. So when you get stressed, and whether or not that's like an actual like external stressor or an internal stressor, when your body is feeling anxious or stressed, your SNS kicks in. So when you get startled or scared, everybody experiences different things. Okay. Some of that might be, and you can throw in the chat box if you want to participate, like what do you experience when you are under a lot of stress or you get scared? For a lot of people, that's your heart starts pounding, your breathing gets quicker, your muscles tense, you start sweating, it feels like your stomach's dropping out, you know, different things like that. Again, we're all familiar with that. The parasympathetic nervous system is the balance, it's the counteract to that. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the brake and the sympathetic is the gas pedal, right? So parasympathetic is what's supposed to promote the rest and digest response that calms the body down after the danger's passed, that tells your body it's safe and it can go on doing what it does best. Your body's one goal through all of this, through life and whatever you're throwing at it and however you are experiencing life, is to be balanced. That's its one goal. That's what it's always striving to get, is balance. So sympathetic, fight or flight, parasympathetic, rest and digest, okay? And we cannot be balanced if we are not safe, if we do not perceive ourselves and our bodies as safe, okay? So a part of your brain called the amygdala sends this distress signal, and the hypothalamus, another part, activates the sympathetic nervous system, which then sends signals through your autonomic nerves to adrenal glands. We've all heard about those adrenal glands. They sit on the top of your kidneys. These glands then respond by pumping out the hormone epinephrine. We also usually hear of it as adrenaline into your bloodstream, okay? So as your epinephrine is circulating the body, a lot of physiological changes immediately happen. You don't think about it, you don't participate, it just is what your body does. Your heart beats faster than normal, because you're pushing the blood to your muscles, your heart, and other vital organs. Your pulse rate and your blood pressure are going up. You're going to start breathing more rapidly. Small airways in your lungs are going to dilate and get bigger so that you can have more oxygen exchange. This extra oxygen then goes to the brain to increase your alertness. Your sight, hearing, and all your other senses become much sharper, okay? The other thing that epinephrine does is it triggers the release of glucose, blood sugar, and fats from different storage sites throughout your body, and that floods into the bloodstream to increase all this energy, to help make all this energy that's happening possible. Again, you do not know that's happening when it's happening. That's just your body's innate response, and that's what happens, okay? As that epinephrine subsides, as that like stressor goes, the hypothalamus, and this is the other part of your stress response that nobody really knows about. Most people just hear about the fight or flight. There's another portion called the HPA axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal gland axis. So kind of think of it as a triangle. Your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands are all connected. So as the epinephrine drops, your hypothalamus then activates this second stress response system, the HPA axis. It relies on hormones, and what happens is that it keeps that gas pedal pressed down. It keeps everything going, even if it's not that quick spurt. So your hypothalamus releases a hormone called the corticotropin releasing hormone, which travels to the pituitary gland, which triggers another hormone, which then goes to adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands release cortisol, which most of us have heard. Cortisol is called the stress hormone. So that's how it gets activated. So you go epinephrine, hypothalamus, adrenals, cortisol. Okay. When the cortisol levels finally fall, the parasympathetic nervous system, the brake, then dampens that stress response. Okay. But the problem in today's society or culture, particularly coming off the past 3 years when it was pure chaos, like for me, example, is that our bodies never perceive a time that we can actually put that brake down and come out of that stress levels. So we are literally just sustaining with these stress levels. It can be chronic low level, it could be chronic high level stress, and that keeps that HPA axis activated. So kind of think of it as like your car's just running. It's just running even if you're not pushing that gas pedal down with epinephrine. It's just going. So after a while, just like with everything, with different medications you take over time, with oils, if you're using the same oils over and over again, your body gets used to it. Okay, it gets like deadened to it. So after a while, that same thing happens to our bodies. We just get used to it. And our new normal then is surviving with this low level or even high levels of stress. The problem is that high levels of cortisol and all those other hormones have a lot of damaging effects if they're not what it's supposed to be, which is on and off, on and off. If it's just on, then everything I just talked about of what your epinephrine does is continually happening, right? So your blood pressure is going to be higher than it should. You're going to have an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. These elevated levels have been shown to increase type 2 diabetes, increase obesity. So for me, like I literally have not been able to lose weight. In fact, I'm still gaining weight after 2.5 years of like hard work because my body keeps making cortisol and it is convinced that I'm about to run from a bear. So it does not want to drop any fat. It wants to hold on to my fat for that moment that I have to run from the bear. Okay. So there's a lot that can be going on. Brain fog. You're quicker to react to things in a negative way than maybe you haven't been in the past. Your appetite's going to be increased because you want that extra energy and because you're storing away all the nutrients instead of maybe actually using them. Okay, so when all of this is working correctly, then that's great. But where most of us are at in society is that we just are surviving on just chronic stress levels at all times. Think about it. We don't have an off switch. Parents, you definitely don't have an off switch. Nurses, healthcare workers, we don't have an off switch. There's always something like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do that. And so our bodies do not know that it's safe and it's okay to take rest. Not only that, but technology doesn't help. The blue light that comes from all of our electronics keeps our body up. It says, hey, it's not time for bed yet. So we are up against a lot is what I'm trying to say. The other thing, other than these physical issues I've told you about, it can suppress your immune system. It's been linked to mood disorders like depression. And the reason for that is because when you're in chronic stress, when you get those extra jolts of epinephrine, your brain can get confused and actually start releasing dopamine, which is your brain's reward system. And that's the neurotransmitter that's associated with pleasure and reward. So then we get stuck in this vicious cycle of your body's becoming more vulnerable to stress because your guards are down, leading to even more stress, which then continues to wreak the havoc on your body, which I've already talked about. And then actually you get addicted to stress because this dopamine is now being released when you get those hits of stress. So it's a very vicious cycle. And you're not alone. More or less is what I want to say. You are not alone. So before I jump into what can we do to manage this, are there any questions about we could talk for hours to days to weeks on this. So this was very brief. It was very concise. But are there any questions about the educational part or the science?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Sarah, are you gonna talk more about what adrenal PCOS is, or?
I can, yeah, I can do that at the end. Just when I'm done, just bring that up and I'm happy to talk about it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're gonna jump into what can we do. There's a lot of things that you can do, first of all, so that's really good. So you need to work on your relaxation response. some things that you've probably heard before: meditation, prayer. A lot of this comes back to, if I don't know if you've heard of this, let me know if you've heard of this, but improving your vagal tone. You want to stimulate your vagus nerve. And I think that's been floating around a lot, or at least it has in my feed, probably because like of all the research I've been doing. But this is really important because people will throw that around, and I want you to understand why. So why are we worried about the vagus nerve? Why do we want to access it and improve that vagal tone? The reason is because the vagal nerve is the main nerve of your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, that balance to the epinephrine. Okay, so if we can improve the tone of that vagus nerve, if we can consciously stimulate it as much as we can throughout the day, then we are stimulating our body and telling our body that it's finally safe and that we can relax regardless of where we're at or what's going around. So that's why that's such a big deal. Clove and lime EO are a great combo for the vagus nerve. I love that. I didn't know that. So I'm gonna come back to the vagus nerve. But some quick things that have been shown in research to help improve your relaxation response, bring harmony and balance back to your body, are morning sunlight. If you can get outside and get 5 to 10 minutes of sun on your face, like within 5 to 10 minutes of waking up, that's ideal. For some people, that's not possible. If you can do it before 10 a.m., research has shown that that helps your body know that it's safe. It also really helps your body sleep better that night. Okay. Which brings me to sleep. You need to be sleeping. You need to be sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. I know if you're a parent that's almost impossible. If you're having trouble sleeping, then reach out to me or whoever invited you here, because we have a lot of tools to help you sleep. We actually have a whole underground on sleep because that's how important it is. And you can find that on our YouTube channel. Try to be aware of your thoughts. So where your thoughts are, where your heart is, there goes, what's that saying? I think it's even a biblical verse. There goes like everything else. Okay. So if you can come up with 5 positive affirmations, particularly when you're spiraling or having a really bad day, and turn your thoughts toward those 5 affirmations, that is going to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in and tell your body it's okay. You want to be eating nourishing foods, because when we're in stress, I told you about that blood sugar just being released, and your body is just in overdrive and it's using up all like extra nutrients and minerals. And we're already deprived of nutrients and minerals, particularly in America and in our food. And so now we're using up even more. So you want to be eating really nourishing foods. Adrenal cocktails, because your poor little adrenals are just pumping it out and they're tired. So if you haven't done adrenal cocktails before, I suggest doing 2 a day for 2 weeks and then go to 1 a day. You want to hit it around 10 a.m. and then around 2 p.m. And Jones, I don't know if you have time, but you can throw in like your adrenal cocktail. And the whole idea with the adrenal cocktail is during those peak times, those are the peak times that your adrenals are working just on our body's cycle, is that you're going to flood your body and your adrenals with potent nutrients and fat and salt to help them function better, so that they're not at their highest working and don't have anything to work with, because then that just potentiates the problem. Get outside. So much research has shown that if you're outside, if you're grounding, put your bare feet on the earth, that everything is calming down. You need to work on rest and boundaries. If you have trauma, if you're not aware of this, we all have trauma. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're all traumatized. Everybody has different degrees, but y'all are. You need to address your trauma. So when I realized that all of this was happening, and I can tell more of my story later, I immediately got into a specific type of trauma therapy called EMDR therapy. And I'm happy to talk about that later if people have questions, but I did that for like 4 months because if I'm not addressing the trauma, then I can't actually even start healing because my body then is still stuck in the trauma. I already addressed reducing blue lights and electronics. Try to do it anytime after 5 p.m., even if it's just 7 p.m., but at least an hour before you go to bed. Try to get rid of that, or at least be wearing blue light glasses. You can get them for really cheap on Amazon. That's what I'm wearing right now. Sleep, talked about that. Physical activity. Okay, here's the kicker. Physical activity, but not a certain type of physical activity. If you are uber stressed like I have been over the past few years, I have stopped running. I have stopped doing HIIT workouts because what happens when you do those? You are surging the epinephrine. You are actually doing the opposite of what we want to do. You already have enough epinephrine being pumped everywhere. We are trying to bring that back. So that has been really hard for me mentally and also physically because I loved that stuff. I'm a soccer player. I loved that stuff. And so I had to switch. So things that you can do, you can do strength training, not like crazy strength training, not like powerlifting, but strength training, yoga, bar, flexibility, like stretching, all of those are excellent. Walking, go for walks, lots of walks. Okay. We want to be moving our body. Ooh, fascia work. Thank you, Katie. We want to be moving our body, strengthening it, but not dumping extra epinephrine into it when we're already trying to minimize it. Social support. You need to have friends. You need to talk to people. You need that connection. We are not solitary beings. We are built to be in community. So lean into your community. All right, so specific Young Living products that are like friggin' key for this. Oils. Shocking, I know. So the oils that you want to focus on are lavender, frank, bergamot, and then basically all of your citrus oils and all of your pine oils. All of those are going to help calm your system down. And the amazing thing about oils is that they get direct access when you inhale them. They get direct access to your brain. They can cross the blood-brain barrier and they trigger your limbic system, which is associated with emotions and memories. And they can literally help you relax when you couldn't otherwise. That's why they're also really helpful in trauma work. The other products, Ningxia Red and Mineral Essence. Ningxia Red is chocked full of all the vitamins and nutrients and antioxidants to help your body get through these periods. Mineral Essence is tons of minerals that are very bioavailable for your body. A lot of people throw that into the adrenal cocktail. We want to be if you are in crisis right now, like what I would be considered, you need to be over nutriating. That's not a word, but we're going with it. Your body. So flood your body with Ningxia and Mineral Essence. The other two I want to talk about, in ideal worlds, you would get some labs drawn. You would get like a thyroid panel, and you would get some hormone panel done. You don't necessarily have to. I'm talking about clearly ideal world. But Thyromin and Cortistop are wonderfully supportive for your adrenals and they're wonderfully supportive for your adrenals and for your thyroid, which is working overdrive in all of these instances. And the reason I say that it'd be great to get those labs done, like for me, and Kim will talk about adrenal PCOS after this, but my DHEA level was off the charts. Like I had to get a CT to rule out a tumor. That's how high my DHEA was. And so there's DHEA and Cortistop. So right now I'm not taking Cortistop. That is like a singular case. That's not common. But if you don't have the access, if you don't have the money, if you don't have a physician willing to work with you to get those panels, then I always say then trial it and listen to your body. So trial it for maybe a month and then maybe take a break and notice the difference before and after. Was there a big difference? When people have been taking a supplement for a while and they're like, it's not working, then I say, then stop it for 2 weeks. And then they're like, okay, well, that was working because I feel like trash. Like, okay, well, let's hop back on and start taking it again. The other two things I want to talk about, and then Jones is going to bring a couple of her favorite supplements for this, and then we will answer questions. Your HPA axis with your vagus nerve is intricately related with your gut. So gut health is going to be key when you are working to calm your nervous system. So Life9 probiotic, and then an enzyme to help break down your food. So fun fact, the tail end of my testimony, and I can tell my whole thing if you want, but all of my labs were very suboptimal, but I'm doing all the right things. And so finally I worked with a provider who was like, so if you're taking all the right things, then you're actually just not absorbing them. So her hypothesis is that I have low stomach acid right now, which shockingly is a symptom and a consequence of stress. So she's having me, I do like lemon and water before meals and to wake up my gut so that it can be poised to work and act. And then I take enzymes. I prefer Essential Zyme 4. I think we're out of that right now. So this next loyalty order, I actually got Essential Zymes. But I take enzymes right after my 2 biggest meals to help my body further break that down so that I can fully absorb what I'm taking in. And Jones, do you want to hop on and share the couple of supplements that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Emily asked a question if you want to answer her.
Oh.
I was going to say this since you brought up enzymes, there are certain enzymes that are best to take at certain times. And so if you do switch, because Essential Zymes 4 is great to take with your biggest meals, Essential Zyme is great to take before your meals. So those enzymes really get in and like lay a foundation for the food you're going to put in. So, and I like overlooked that many times because I get bad about just popping things in when it's convenient. Like, oh, I ate, let me take this. And so anyways, when I learned that, it made Essential Zyme much more effective for me. So there's that tip. You mentioned low acid in the stomach when you have stress. So I'll start with Alkalign because, you know what? I probably have one. I always have them with me. I have the packets and they balance your pH of your body, which when you get stressed, your pH is going to become imbalanced. So it's a packet of powder and you can just pour it in water and it fizzes up and you stir it, let it like defizz, and then you just drink it. And it's got citrus oils in it, but it's got like all the good fizz. Yeah, Alkalign is amazing, but it balances the acid in your stomach. So as your acid is becoming extremely imbalanced and your gut is becoming imbalanced and attacked, then your gut brain axis, like Sarah mentioned, is going to be much more off and not able to function and heal. And so when you go through these stressful situations, we really want to feed the brain what it needs. And so balancing that gut and making sure the gut's okay. And when you go through stress, and we hear talked about like, oh, stress and emotions are so much harder on the body than actual physical distress, that it just takes so much longer to get back when that gut gets way out of balance. And so Alkalign is phenomenal. So a lot of people have talked to me about like Alkalign clearing up their skin. Part of that is because of the healing that comes to the gut when you do so. And so a lot of emotional stuff can be tied to like acne. And so it's crazy, all these things that are tied to emotions people see start to fall off when they use Alkalign regularly. So increasing that stomach acid, balancing the pH, just putting the body in a spot where it can work the way that it is designed to work. Alkalign is super helpful for. Digestion is another big thing when you go through stress. Like a lot of people either get diarrhea or they get constipated, because when your fight or flight is on, your body's either saying like, I don't have time to poop, because I might be running from a bear, or we need to get everything out of the body so that, you know, in the middle of this run from the bear, we don't have to go to the bathroom. So that's what the body's doing when it does one or the other. And so Alkalign can really help with those digestive issues. So I love it. You can do, like if you're going to kind of be aggressive with it, it's like 1 teaspoon 3 times a day. Or you can like do one in the morning. I do it in the morning. Right now I'm doing it every morning when I wake up, and adding a drop of lemon to it, as my lemon water, just because I'm on an empty stomach and I have my little packets right there and I won't forget. I try to do it again at night, just to support my body, because like everyone else, it's just been a crazy stressful season in life. The other one is nitro, which I mentioned in the chat when I put up my adrenal cocktail recipe. That's the one that I love so much. I've taken it daily for over a year, and it's a freaking game changer, you guys. Everyone else that's hopped on with me has messaged me and just been like, this is a quite the combo. So the reason I add nitro, and I won't go, like, nitro has quite a few of ingredients and oils, so just go look them up or get with whoever brought you here if you want, if you geek out and you want all the details, but I won't go through it all. But nitro has choline in it, which is just really important to help the body receive the message that it is safe and it can calm down. And when we are in fight or flight, that's the message we have, is like, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. I need to survive. And so that choline can come in when we are technically in a safe environment and help the body receive that message. Nitro in general helps to build ATP, which is, you can go and look up if you want, but that's basically your body's energy currency that's all required for basically everything, like a heartbeat, to take a breath. And so that's important. It's got natural caffeine in it. So the difference is, like, when we feel bad and we go and drink like bad caffeine, we don't actually get energy. We just block receptors so that we think that we're not tired. And a more natural approach is going to actually help the body to feel nourished. That's why I like the Ninja Nitro has like Ninja and the different minerals in it to help the body actually be nourished so that it can derive from those to have real energy. So anyways, I could talk on nitro like all night long, but it's just in a little packet, it's like a little squeeze, and you squeeze it in your mouth, add it to your Ninja. It's just really, really simple to take, but it's extremely impactful, and it's full of like brain support. MindWise is the third one, and it is CoQ10, and it's just a combo of like literal brain support. And so to build that gut brain axis, I find when I'm doing MindWise and Alkalign that I'm covering both sides really, really well. And my brain is getting like replenished in what the stress of the world is like completely draining from me. So a lot of times when we hear brain fog or behavioral problems in kids, or we can't sit still, or we can't focus, or, you know, whatever, we can't get a hold of those thoughts and they're running wild, it's really more like a malnutrition, or the brain basically being starved of what it needs for the body to go back into that rest and digest. So even though it's considered brain support, it's still that parasympathetic like support as well. So that comes in a bottle, and you can put it in a spoon or add it to Ninja, but it also comes in little personal packets, and you can just squeeze them in your mouth. So I love all three of those supplements because they're simple and you can take them with you. And it just makes it like, if you're already stressed, it can be very overwhelming to put a supplement game together to help your body be not stressed. So the simple, easy, like, I have no reason not to have this just sitting in my car, really for me is super helpful, because that consistency is what's really going to help your body get back in line. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. So 2 other things I wanted to say was, I just threw a lot at you. There's always so much that you can do, but in an effort to calm your body down, I don't want you to do everything, because then you're going to stress it out even more. So you need to sit down and be like, what can I do right now that feels good? I can add 1 thing, or I can add 2 things, or maybe I can do X, Y, or Z. But I don't want you sitting down trying to do all of this, because that's actually just going to do the opposite. Okay, we really need to start tuning into our bodies and saying, what can I actually do? Even if it's all good, doesn't mean you should do all of the good. It means, what am I physically and mentally actually capable of doing right now? And then so I talked about the vagus nerve and how important it is. I just wanted to share like 3 or 4 very simple exercises that you can do throughout the day to start stimulating it, to remind your body and convince it that it's safe. So first is humming and chanting. Like when you hum, you're literally stimulating your vagus nerve. Gargling and even like slight gagging. So when you're brushing your teeth, you can like maybe make yourself gag a little bit or gargle. That's stimulating your vagus nerve. Auricular massage, which really is just fancy terminology for the outer area of your ear. Particularly if you take like frankincense or tree oils, which are really grounding, massage the outer part of your ear. That's going to stimulate your vagus nerve. Okay. Breath work. So if you're feeling anxious, the type of breath work you want to do is 4 count in, 8 count out. If you're flipped, and sometimes in our anxious state, we can be flipped and be like, I can't do anything. Like you just feel opposite of being like adrenalized. You're going to want to flip that. So you're going to want to do a longer count in and a shorter count out if you need to like re-energize yourself. I talked about grounding, doodling, and actually there's this thing. So Dr. Rosenberg wrote this book, and I'll put it in the chat when I'm done talking. It's called Accessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerves. There's a very simple exercise you can do to reset your vagus nerve. And you guys can do it with me if you want really quick, but you're going to take your hands like this, and you're literally going to cradle like as if you're going to lean back in a chair. Okay. And you're going to relax your neck into your hands. And what you'll do is you're going to look all the way. You're not going to move your head, but take your eyes and look all the way to the left. And you're just going to stay like that all the way to the left for 30 seconds to 60 seconds until you actually feel a shift. It might be a deep sigh. It might be like your shoulders finally relax. We're going to sit here and do it because we've got the time. But all of a sudden your body is just going to relax, and you're going to know when that happens. So it usually takes about 30 to 60 seconds. And then you're going to come back to the center. You look straight ahead, and then you're going to do the same thing to the right. So that is like a 2 to 3 minute exercise that you can do at any point, wherever, that you just reset it. And if you really want to go, if you really want to go up above and beyond, you're going to put some grounding oils in your hands when you do that, as you cradle your head. Okay. So those are really simple vagal toning exercises. All right. Just threw a lot at you. What kind of questions do we got?
I have a question. So I had some blood work done last fall, and I was just like, I just pulled it up as you were talking, but I'm like, I don't remember what this means. Do you know what the sex hormone binding globulin serum means?
It's not DHEA.
Well, no, that was the different one. This just
Okay.
it just said sex hormone binding globulin serum, and it's like I'm off the chart on that one. I'm like, I don't remember what that means.
Not off the top of my head. I don't know if Jones does. But if you message me, I can look it up more.
Okay, maybe I'll take a screenshot and show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
That is not ringing a bell at
Okay.
the moment.
Which reminds me, Emily, you asked if you did get labs done and they were both basically normal, is it okay to take? The answer is yes. If they're within normal limits, it's fine to take. You don't want to take it if they're too high in different areas. So if your thyroid levels were really high, then you wouldn't want to take Thyromin. If your hormone levels are really high, like my DHEA, you wouldn't want to take Cortistop, but that's rarely the case.
So of course I had to go look it up, but it says the SHBG transports your estrogens and androgens in the blood and regulates the access they have to the target tissue. Oh, is that what?
Brigantia said, yeah.
So
It
you're
means that
saying
you-
have too much of that was, I wonder if you're getting like too much uptake in the tissue because of that. And so then,
Hmm.
I don't know, that's interesting because if you're not producing too much, I don't see how that would be problematic.
No, I think it's because you're probably producing enough, but it's not getting into your tissues. So then the carrier hormone is being increased to try to uptake it into the tissues, but it's still not getting in there.
Oh, okay.
So are your liver enzymes off?
How would I know that?
I
What
would
would,
AST or ALT?
I'm just looking for those.
So the only reason I bring that up, just not to take up time, is if your enzymes are off, then you probably are dumping hormones that are not being taken into the tissue into the liver. So the question would be like, is your increase in that causing you to create more hormones because they're not going into the tissue, or is it causing too many hormones to go into the tissue? That would be my question.
Okay.
And depending on how taxed the liver is, it can kind of let you know. Because if it's not uptaking the hormones and you're producing a bunch of them, then that's going to dump back into the bloodstream and tax your liver.
Okay. Well, it
So-
looks like those are on the ranges for those are 0 to 40 and 0 to 32, at least according to here. And I'm at like 18 and 15.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I do know that well, at least at this point, when I had these done, my estrogen was like super high and my progesterone was like super low.
That's
But-
basically most females in America.
Okay.
Are you taking Progestins Plus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I asked about the adrenal PCOS was because he said that, like, my functional medicine doctor I've been working with, he said it was like on the edge of, he was like, you're showing 3 of the 4 markers for PCOS, but not, I'd have to look back through my notes, but I was like, wait, but what's adrenal PCOS? So that's why I was just curious, because
For those that don't know, PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's basically this, they came up with this and it covers a whole host of metabolic disorders, more or less, particular for females, because they don't really know what's going on in the Western world. They just want to throw birth control at you. We have several oily undergrounds on that. If you want to talk about that, we can. But adrenal PCOS is basically my adrenals and my stress hormones and everything got so high that it threw my body into metabolic disorder, which is the heart of PCOS, is metabolic disorder. Versus it was a different origin, but for me it was stress.
yeah, I feel like everything you described, Sarah, just having worked in the hospital too during COVID, like, I feel like it just messed up my system. Like, my body just has gone like, ah! And I'm just trying to figure out how
It's
to bring it
basically
into
messed
balance.
up every healthcare worker, unfortunately.
I'm super grateful for this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I guess back to my question. How would you know if you don't need Thiamine or cortisol? Because I've taken both of them at different times. And I don't know that I can tell a difference with either of them. I just wondered, if you're taking cortisol, you don't need it. How would you know that? I don't know.
Well, my first question would be, why are you taking it?
Well, I did for a while have high cortisol in the afternoon, picking up kids, trying to get dinner ready, and I think that's better now. I stopped taking that, but I started taking Thiamine, thinking I might need that, just getting more like hot flashes and stuff. And I kind of upped my Progestins Plus, and sometimes that works, but I just thought maybe. And I had a high TSA. I think that's the right one.
TSH.
And so then I took further testing and my TSA was normal, the T3 uptick, all the free T3, everything, and it was all normal. So
Are those Becky's on here, she can speak to this. I don't know what kind of doctor you went to, but if those are like, if they just checked those 3, then technically that's not considered a full thyroid panel, so you're not.
well, they did everything. It was all
They-
completely normal. I mean, they did allergy testing. I mean, I gave like 30 vials of blood, so
Yeah.
they did everything.
Well, if it was all normal, I mean, a lot of it is listening to your body. So if you're feeling extra stressed out or more tired, then maybe take one or both of those supplements during that time period, and then you can back off. Because whenever there's extra stressors or you're more fatigued, those are the two areas that you want to be supporting. So again, just listen to your body. And if you take it and you're like, if you take it as prescribed for like a month and you're like, I don't feel any different, then stop taking it, and also notice how you're feeling. Like, am I more tired? Am I not? And if you don't notice much of a difference, then maybe you don't need it right now, and that's okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I was just gonna say, to speak to what you were saying, Sarah, about what kind of a doctor are you seeing that's looking at your blood work? Like, I had blood work done for thyroid for years and years and years, and it always came back normal, but I always had thyroid symptoms. And when I saw a DO, yeah, you can wave to her. When I saw a DO, she was like, yeah, you're showing up normal on these types of blood work, but you're still having thyroid issues. And so I was on a compound thyroid thing for a while till I dealt with some other things that helped even out my thyroid. But yeah, depending on what they're looking at with the blood work, it could be missing stuff that's really still going on.
And I don't want to get too technical, but sometimes if you change up like what time of day you're taking the supplements. So like with Thyromin, you could take it at night right before bed, like literally on your nightstand before you close your eyes, or you can take it in the morning, and the morning is going to typically address adrenals a little more than it does thyroid, and thyroid at night. So you could play with that, Emily, because you might see a different result based on that.
Any other questions?
Sarah, what was the name of the book that you mentioned again about, was it
Oh, let me put it in the chat. Thank you. And again, the whole point of this is for you guys to be listening to your bodies. And yes, you want to be researching and learning how to take care of your body, but it's not like, okay, let me get out this list and what do I need to fix now? And what all can I add? It's little by little, because you're not supposed to do everything at once. And if like you heard 3 or 4 things and you're like, oh, that stresses me out, then don't do it, because that's not the point.
And when you were saying what you've been seeing on your Instagram feed, I've been seeing a lot of the vagus nerve stuff too, because of the stuff I'm looking at, but also all the nervous system stuff and the polyvagal theory and, all of those things, and just, realizing like how, and I've talked with Becky about this too, but like that stress piece is so key. So if you're doing all the right things, but it's stressing you out, it's just going to make everything worse. So it's like, I keep trying to ask myself, what's most helpful right now for me to be calm, and what is like my motivation for doing what I'm doing? Is it to nourish my body and heal my body, or is it to like beat my body into submission? Because if that's what I'm trying to do, my body's going to rebel no matter what good thing I'm doing to it, which can be so counterintuitive, because you can feel like I'm doing all the right things and I'm not seeing any changes. But if your body is not perceiving those good things as safe things or helpful things, then it's going to reject what you're doing to it anyway, even if it's all the right things.
Yeah. And it's also like, the more that I'm aware of how, like, sure, it's easy to say that we have a busy society and a busy life and a stressful life and a stressful society, but actually like being presented with like, this is actually what it's doing to you and to your body, and seeing different things that were normal in my life. Like, for instance, my job can be very stressful. So like this weekend when I worked, I ran 2 codes, and that is like a dump of adrenaline and epinephrine. And for the first time after that, I felt it. I could feel it. And so then it's like, okay, well, this is currently still my job. So when those moments happen, like, what can I bring to work and what can I bring with me to help bring me out of that into a rest and digest phase? Like this simple exercise, or bringing like grounding oils with me to work that I can go huff after I do CPR or whatever it is. And so even just like little things like that, because you're not going to be able to change your life like that. You're not going to be able to, there's always going to be stressors. And the point is, how do I learn to adapt well to these stressors, recognize that I'm in this heightened state, and then take a step back and convince my body that it's safe again, or else it's just always going to be in that heightened state. All right, friends, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Brookeann will upload this probably tomorrow or the next day to our Oily Underground on YouTube. As always, if you have a topic you want to hear about, we want to hear about it. So we want to show up for you in the ways that you want to be showed up for. So it's good to see you all, and you all have a great night.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, Molly. I love you.
I love you too.